Well, the Justice Department is now investigating who leaked those secret U.S. military documents on Afghanistan to the site WikiLeaks. The documents indicate that the military suspects that Pakistan's intelligence agents cooperate with the Taliban. Joining us now to discuss the significance of that and other foreign policy issues is former Defense Secretary Bill Cohen. He joins us now live from Washington. Thank you for joining us today, sir. We were just speaking about this with Al Hunt about the degree of controversy about these documents being leaked. Should there be controversy given what's actually in these documents?
Well, there has to be some controversy, obviously, because, number one, if I'm the Secretary of Defense or the President of the United States, I want to know, number one, did the leak of these documents in any way compromise the safety and security of the men and women who are fighting for us? Number two, did it compromise or hinder or impair their ability to carry out their mission? So that would be a primary concern. Then looking below that to see that much of the information in fact has been in the public domain for some time now.
Right.
And so the fact that we tend to overclassify information at the secret level, but nonetheless, this is of concern because if this goes unchecked or uninvestigated, it will not serve as a deterrent to those who might leak information at a much higher level and put our troops in jeopardy.
It sounds like what you're saying is there should be concern more because of the symbolic nature of what this indicates. I mean, as you said, a number of the things were already known. This was Afghan policy from 2004 to 2009. Those allegations about the ISI, Pakistan's intelligence corroborating with the Taliban, those have been out there for many years. So what is it that you're most concerned about there?
Again, taking the volume of information, the 90,000 documents allegedly have been released, is there something in there that would establish a pattern whereby the insurgents, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, could then start targeting either villages or personnel in those villages that could then start to compromise, again, the safety, security of our men and women fighting for us or the mission itself? I think that's the concern. If we go to the actual information itself, some new information has come out in terms of, quote, heat-seeking missile technology now being used by the insurgents or by Al-Qaeda. If so, where did that technology come from? Is it old Stinger missile technology that we provided to the Afghans in fighting the Soviets? Or is it something coming out of Iran, possibly China, Pakistan, elsewhere? That will be important to know who's supplying this technology to the insurgents to take down our flying, our either fixed-wing aircraft or helicopters.
You've served as Defense Secretary. As you've seen in published reports, that the individual who's getting some blame for this leak or accused of it is a 22-year-old private who served in Iraq. What's the likelihood, from your perspective, that that's actually who is responsible?
Well, it's hard to say at this point. We have so much information flowing into the Pentagon from a variety of intelligence services. I think it's important to find out if it's this individual or other individuals that can, in fact, be identified. Again, I don't think there's so much significance in terms of what has been released, but the fact that it may come at a much higher level and pose a much greater danger to our troops. So I don't want to focus on one individual. That's up to the investigators, but I think it can't go unchecked or uninvestigated. I think we have to send the signal that this is something that we can't have people who are entrusted with this information releasing it for public consumption.
Well, let's switch gears and talk about North Korea, because there are reports and there's word that the U.S. will begin sanctions against North Korea next month. Now, do you subscribe to the theory that sanctions are actually an effective way of isolating a country, particularly when China and Russia are not signing on to support U.S. action?
I think it makes life a bit more difficult if we target those sanctions against the leadership and the top people in the military. It deprives them of some of the luxuries that they've been accustomed to having. But frankly, sanctions without the support of either the Russians or the Chinese, especially the Chinese, will not be that effective. It'll make it a little more difficult to get luxury items in, but beyond that, we have seen that the North Koreans are willing to sacrifice their people, to starve them in order to make sure that the regime survives. So I'm skeptical that unilateral sanctions or a very small group of nations who are sanctioning North Korea is going to be that successful. China is the key, and China is the one, notwithstanding its public declarations, that has the most influence in terms of getting to the North Koreans and saying, this is serious, you got to stop this activity, and we're prepared to join with the others in tightening and ratcheting things down on you.
Is targeting the corporate sector key to this? There's talk about banking and arms trade and the role of businesses in helping to support North Korea.
Well, anytime the North Koreans or the Iranians can circumvent sanctions by going through third or fourth parties in order to get materials, money, etc., laundering funds, then it makes the sanctions that much weaker. So it seems that banks play a key role, as do major corporations.
We've got to leave it there. Thank you, Secretary, for joining us.